ओम परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समाज्ञया यो धर्म स्थापन रतो वीरेशम तम नमाम्यहम. We have been studying here Swami Vivekananda's practical Vedanta, which is a part of Jnana Yoga. And in the first chapter we have seen that Swamiji's practical Vedanta consists of three phases. One is to draw implications from the Vedantic truths which can be applied to our life immediately. That will prepare our mind. And the second main important phase is Shravan Manan Nidhasan, the way to realize the truth. Hearing from the sages, thinking about it, trying to experience it, we shall experience. And the third phase is after experience what will happen in our life. That is the topmost practical Vedanta. But in the second chapter we find another dimension other than these three phases. And that is, first Swamiji starts his stories from the fourth chapter of Chandogya Upanishad. Satyakam Jabal and then Upakosal Kamalayan, who was a disciple of Satyakam. In these stories in the beginning, values are taught, which is same thing as the implication of Vedanta. How truthfulness is an important value. Then we see the methods of education were various according to the capacity of the student. So these are the practical sides of Vedanta. Vedanta does not mean some theories at all. Vedanta means practice and realization and transfiguration of life. In the second chapter we find through these stories Swamiji has his own vision. The lesson taught there, direct lesson, is that everything is Brahman. Everything is part of Brahman. But in between the lines, Swamiji has found another thing, and that is that the things with which we were conversant. In the Karma Kanda portion or in our own life, we are more conversant with the cows and the bulls and the fire and this bird and that bird, and then earth and sky and so many things. Instead of saying that they are unreal, they are all being shown to be parts or rather appearances of Brahman. That is the practical side. A new dimension of practical Vedanta in the second chapter is that the things which we are very conversant with have been shown as part of our knowledge. Knowledge is given not through some theory, but knowledge is given through the things with which we know. That is the important point in the second lecture which you have heard up till now. Then, after Satyakam and Upakosal, we came to the fifth chapter of Chandogya. And this was referred to in the beginning of first lecture to show that the Vedanta has been realized by ruling monarchs. Now that topic is taken again for the lesson in that topic. That was reading between the lines that Vedanta is practiced by the ruling monarchs. So we have time and we can practice it. In that way the practicality was shown, and now that topic is taken again. Basically all these four lectures are lectures on Chandogya Upanishad which I just showed you, already was started before this lecture. So, now Swamiji is reading from the 5th chapter. And in that, when he asked the questions, do you know where people go when they die? Do you know how they come back? Do you know why the other world does not become full? I do not know. The boy comes back to his father, and another value was shown, that forgetting the difference and hierarchy of caste, everybody should learn that which he does not know. So the father and the son went back to the king and asked to be taught, and when an eager seeker comes, the teacher must teach, is also another value the Vedanta teaches us. Now, now, actually the answers are being to be read today. Today we have to read the answers which the king taught them. That we have to read today. We now come to a peculiar doctrine. Peculiar because the language there is unknown to us. That is the only peculiarity of the doctrine. I do not understand much of it myself. But he is reading from the Chandogya Upanishad. If you can make something out of it, I will read it to you. When a man dies, who has by meditation purified himself and got knowledge, so by meditation purified himself and got knowledge, we shall find that this knowledge is relative up to a point, but it is knowledge. And then what happens to him? He first goes to light, then from light to day, from day to the light half of the moon, from that to the 6 months, when the sun goes to the north, from that to the year, from the year to the sun, from the sun to the moon, from the moon to the lightning, and when he comes to the sphere of lightning, he meets a person who is not human, and that person leads him to the conditioned Brahman. This condition is written in brackets. This is the way of the gods. Shankaracharya has told the meaning. All this refers to different gods and their spheres. This day and bright half, and one common thing is that it is light everywhere. Those who have got knowledge, they go through spheres which are full of light. And there are presiding deities over these spheres. That is how Shankara has told the meaning. Because that is not coming out clearly, so Swamiji has said, I do not know, you find out the meaning. But the meaning given by Shankaracharya is this. And they reach. This is the way of the gods. It is called Devayana Marga, way of the gods. When sages and wise persons die, they go that way. Sages and wise persons, the meaning is the same, those who have knowledge up to a certain limit. Because the conditioned Brahman is given, that means Saguna Brahma or personal God. They go to Brahma Loka, that is the meaning. I have to explain this a little more in detail, how the Brahma Loka should be looked up as. There are 3 ways to look at Brahma Loka. Shankar calls it Krama Mukti, according to Kathopanishad. That means, because he has sufficient knowledge. Knowledge means realization of a different order. I am united with that Brahman, that is the knowledge. The knowledge is, I am united with that Brahman. Now, this cannot be the full knowledge. In full knowledge, I am not there. Neither Brahman is an object. It is only one reality shining through and through. So this is below that. But the knowledge is there because I am knowing Brahman only, not the relative things of the world. So, if I reach that sphere, then there is a chance, if I have sufficient vairagya, if I have sufficient knowledge, if there is a backing by the Guru, you may say, then from there I can do my sadhana and reach the reality, which is one without a second. So it is called Krama Mukti, a step from where Mukti can be obtained. That is one way to look at Brahmaloka. Otherwise, if I do not get the full knowledge, what will happen? Abrahma bhuvanat lokat punaravartino Arjuna. So all the lokas right up to Brahma Loka are revolutionary. That means I have to come back. I have to come back and get another chance as a human being to realize God. That is the second way, second approach to the Brahma Loka. Third approach, some people say that when the Brahma finishes this creation and goes in for dissolution, and Brahma goes back to his original state, we all as seed form will go back with him. And they stay till the next creation comes and come back with Brahma. So, these are the three ways in which Brahma Loka can be seen. I go to Brahma Loka, I can stay there for one kalpa, one cycle. And I either go back with Brahma or come back to this earth. And if I go back with Brahman, stay with him till the pralaya, again come back here. Third way is that there I do sadhana further and go to real Brahman. Go to I said, but in Brahman there is no going or coming. Brahman is all-pervading, Brahman is transcendent. To realize it, that is my real nature. So that is called Krama Mukti. These are some confusion comes whether it is this or that. So I clarified that there are two, apparently two clear ways of looking at Brahma Loka. That means that, as I said, if you have sufficient vairagya, we will not get stuck up there. Otherwise, the happiness, the joy is almost infinite, and that makes us forget to go further. In Brahma Loka, the joy or the bliss is almost infinite, because we have reached almost infinity. And that joy will make us forget the further progress. We will stay there till the Kalpanta, and then we have to come back either immediately or when the next Srishti comes. So there is not much difference in that. We stay there for one kalpa, and it is such a long time that people think it is mukti. Let me compare it with what the dualist, Vaishnavas or Shaivas think, that we will go to God, and they conceive of 4 types of mukti. To stay in the same sphere as God stays, Salokya. To stay near God, Samipya. To get the same form as that of God, Sarupya. And to be united with God. United is not identical, please. United is not identical. I am there, united with God. And so, the mukti, 4 types of mukti conceived by the Vaishnavas is not acceptable to Vedantic truth, because there I should not be there at all. But staying in Vaikuntha, how long? Till one kalpa? Now the same thing is substituted by, instead of Vaikuntha, the form of God in which we look God. Normally it is called Satya Loka or Brahma Loka. That is Brahma, the universal soul. To be united with that universal soul, retaining I. Same thing, if people are devoted to Shiva as the form of God, they say we go to Kailasa and stay there. So the form of God, these days, it has become a common talk among the Ramakrishna Mission sadhus and devotees. We will go to Ramakrishna Loka. Yes, there is a Ramakrishna Loka. It is nothing but Brahma Loka. Because we look at God only as Ramakrishna, so we'll stay with Ramakrishna there. But then, when the Kalpa is over, we are bound to come back. So, all these lokas, Devayana means through meditation, we have got the realization of Saguna Brahma. Saguna Brahma can be seen as Brahma or Vishnu or Mahesh or Devi Loka. Devi is the universal power and we go to Devi Loka. So, the names will differ according to the form in which we have been worshipping God, in which God has been appearing to us rather. So that is all they talk about, all the four muktis. Four muktis as talked about by the Vaishnavas. The fourth mukti or Sayujya is union with God, united with God, not identical. So this is the state of Brahmaloka. You know, the Sikh religion, the only goal they keep in mind is go to Sachakhanda. Sachakhanda means Satyaloka. Let me tell something funny also in between. These days you can go to Satyaloka by train. The train which goes from Nanded to Amritsar is called Sachkhanda Express. The two holy places of the Sikhs, Nanded is the place where Guru Govinda Singh took his Samadhi. Amritsar is the place where the Sikh religion reached its supreme. So the train from Nanded to Amritsar is called Sachkhanda Express. Anyway, going anywhere means coming back. That is the rule. And so, you may stay there for one kalpa, but you have to come back. But from there you can do sadhana and go further. That is the thing. And that is being described here on light. Shukla Paksha, Uttarayan, day, lightning, moon, all lights only. Now another important thing is, he meets a person who is not human and that person leads him to the conditioned Brahman. Yes, that is the actual experience. That from there, whatever you call him, a go-between man. You see, when you visit a very rich man's house, at the door you will get somebody and he will lead you to that man. Like that, a messenger comes. This is actually the experience of the people. Swamiji will tell later on, Vedanta has been practiced first and theorized afterwards. I have been telling this repeatedly. So this is actually experience that a person comes from there and leads us to there. So that is how Shankara has interpreted, or common knowledge tells us. That is one way. Then what is meant by this month and year and all these things, no one understands clearly. Each one gives his own meaning and some say it is all nonsense. Those who don't understand say what is all nonsense. What is meant by going to the world of the moon and of the sun and the person who comes to earth, the soul, after it has reached the sphere of lightning, no one knows. There is an idea among the Hindus that the moon is a place where life exists, and we shall see how life has come from there. That is future. We shall see how life comes from there. Up till now we reached there. Those that have Now second motion. Those that have not attained to knowledge but have done good work in this life, first go when they die through smoke, then to night, then to the dark 15 days, then to the 6 months when the sun goes to the south, and from that they go to the region of their forefather. It's called Pitru Loka or Pitruyana, the way of the God fathers. So, that is the normal concept of heaven. Karmana Pitru Loka Vidya Deva Loka. So, through good works, one goes there. Because works are good, you will get the happiness as a result, but it will be temporary. Even that will be longer in length compared to our life. But you will not feel it there. There you may feel 100 years. Actually, our counting may be thousands of years. So, feeling-wise it will not differ, but the amount of joy that you get will be tremendous compared to our joy, which is not called joy at all. So that is the Pitru Loka. Those who do not meditate, those who do not get knowledge, those whose consciousness is not changed at all, that is the meaning. Though the consciousness has not reached the highest level, but it has reached that level where I feel united with Brahman, that is the Brahmaloka. When this consciousness is not reached, but good things are done throughout life, then this is the Gati. Now finite thing will give finite result. Then to ether, ether is space, Akash. Then to the region of the moon, and there become the food of the gods. And later are born as gods and live there so long as their good works will permit. Moon comes in both places with a different connotation. Brahmaloka also the moon, and this loka is moon in the sense of reflected light. And later are born as gods and live there as long as their good works will permit. Good works, according to that, they get the stay there. And when the effect of the good work has been finished, they come back to earth by the same route. That will be explained later on, coming back. They first become ether, and then air, and then smoke, and then mist, then cloud, and then fall upon the earth as raindrops. Then they get into food, which is eaten up by human beings, and finally become their children. So they come back. Comparatively, compared to Kalpanta, they is very, very small, though compared to our life it may be long. Those whose works have been very good take birth in good families. Within that there is a difference. Those whose works have been very good take birth in good families. Good family means spiritually conducive families. And those whose works have been bad take bad births, even in animal bodies. That is important. The question was asked about Shesha Karma. That means some good work has taken us to heaven, but we have done many other works. And so, that is called the remaining work. And the remaining work is normal, then we become man again. And if the remaining work is bad, within man we may be born in bad families, or we may become animals. That is the direct dictum of the Vedas. Animals are continuously coming to and going from this earth, because man becomes animal. And when that work is exhausted, then he again becomes man. This is totally opposite to Darwin's so-called evolution. Man does not rise like that. Swamiji says if man rises like that, then he must have been involved first. Then only he can come out. Evolution cannot presuppose something coming out of nothing. So if consciousness is last developed form, then consciousness must be involved first. So, man is man. Man does karma good or bad. According to that, the next life comes place. Very, very clear. The rishis have seen it. Darwin has not seen anything. Darwin saw several stages. Now the stages can suggest that man has become like that. How can it say that you have come like that? Because the old species are not found now. These are flimsy grounds. Nobody has seen it. Well, the rishis have seen. Man doing this karma goes to such a place and comes back to such a place. That is the transcendental vision of the rishis. So according to them, this king of the Panchalas, Pravan Jaivali, is explaining to Shvetaketu and his father Aruni. And that we are reading. So this is the important thing. In our common literature, little mistake is there, superstition. In our common literature it is said in Hindi, Lakha Chaurasi Fere Firakara Sundara Naratanu Paya. That means you have crossed over 84 lakhs of species before you become man. That may not be true. But according to what work we do, bad or good, we may go through any of these 84 species. Why somebody is born like a worm? Because you have done work like that. So you have to be born like that. So everything depends upon man's life and how man behaves. Man does work according to his buddhi. That means I am the doer. Other places that is not there. They only do according to the instincts which they have built up. So it is man who builds up instincts and becomes those species. I do not want to go into further detail, but to give you an idea that the sages have seen this and they say if you do such a work, you will go to such a place. That is why the earth is neither full nor empty. That was the question asked, one of the questions. Why Parloka is not full or empty was a question. Similarly, why earth is not full or empty is a question. So, it happens. Even on earth, karma sangishu jayate. So, people attached to karma, there they are born. Or, yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam. They are born in a spiritual family. So, all are perfectly decided to take a simile from modern science. To use that language, I say, God has a super computer. And the moment we are dying here, we are born somewhere, where according to our work we will have suitable place. We get only what we deserve. That is how the rebirth is taken place. And it is described in great detail in the Chandogya Upanishad, which Swamiji is reading here. Several ideas we can get also from this, and later on perhaps we shall be able to understand it better. So first he said, we do not understand. That is the best way to approach, not superimpose some meaning into that. And when we grow, we do understand to some extent. That is how Swamiji is showing this. We shall be able to understand it better, and we can speculate a little upon what it means. That means which we cannot understand fully, we can guesswork. But actually the rishis have seen. The last part which deals with how those who have been in heaven return is clearer perhaps than the first part. Clearer because that is how it can be seen. This part is called Panchagni Vidya in the 5th chapter of Chandogya Upanishad. That means to conceive this as fire, 5 fires. Rain is a fire. Then food is a fire. man is a fire, woman is a fire. Like that, man takes birth again, passing through 5 fires. And the commentator says this is for generating vairagya. We do not want this. Then realize God. But the whole idea seems to be this, that there is no permanent heaven without realizing God. So comes back to the main theme. Whether it is Brahmaloka, which is relatively permanent, and the heaven, which can never be permanent, the lesson is this: finite work, finite result. Imperfect knowledge, imperfect result. Perfect knowledge, perfect result, that has yet to be dealt with. But the whole idea seems to be this, that there is no permanent heaven without realizing God. Here, if you realize God, the permanent heaven, heaven only means happiness here, permanently you are blissful, so relatively Brahmaloka, but really realizing God. Now some people who have not realized God, but have done good work in this world, with the view of enjoying the results, go when they die. Why it is a provision made with the view of enjoying the results? Because the sadhak also does good work for self-purification only, not for getting some results. Go when they die through this and that place until they reach heaven, and there they are born in the same way as we are born here, as children of the gods, and they live there as long as their good works will permit. That is the thing. Out of this comes one basic idea of the Vedanta, that everything which has name and form is transient. Now, Swami has jumped upon Vedanta, we'll have to go through some explanation. What is finite and what is not finite? Vedanta has already told that there is oneness in the universe. This oneness consists of Satchid Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Now, one who realizes consciousness, himself as consciousness, though it may be a reflected consciousness, how many people are aware of their consciousness? The whole Western world does not know. They do not know even the mind. They speculate about the mind by the behavior it makes. They do not see the mind. Seeing the Atman is beyond their idea even. Now what I have heard, modern science term became old. So the science today is called postmodern science. And postmodern science says, some genius people only say that there seems to be something like consciousness, and we have to study it. When they study, they will study it as an object and spoil the whole thing. So, unless you know the consciousness, what is we see? So, Brahman is Satchidananda consciousness appearing through names and forms, that is the world. What is the world? What is you and I? What is a pot and a jar, a table? Some form and some name. Nothing more than that. Now, we are not aware of our consciousness. We are not aware of the consciousness in the world. So what are we aware of? Names and forms. That is what Swamiji is telling here. Form is ever changing. Why it appears real? Anything appears real because Brahman is the background. But why it appears separately real, separate than Brahman? Have you thought of this? We have discussed this in Bhakti Yoga in the matter of Om. Because we have given a name. Take our own case. When we are born, a flesh has come out of mother's womb. In America, you have to give the name before he is born. If a boy is born this name, a girl is born this name. Because they have to register methodically. And in India, we name after 10 or 12 days. So the name is given. You are Arvinda, you are Malini, but. So I am Malini, you are Malini, I am Arvinda, you are Arvinda. This remains stuck to us. And that makes us appear separately real than Brahman, nothing else. This is a table. Table is a name. If this name was not given, it was wood only. Wood is a name. If that was not given, it was electrons only. If electron name was not given, it was Brahman only. So, form is ever changing, it cannot be called real at all. I am not discussing further detail. Form is ever changing, it cannot have any reality. It appears real because Brahman is the background. It appears separately real because you have given a name to it. Name has no reality, name is only sound, an empty sound. Our supremely revered Holy Mother Sarada Devi said, what is the word? Empty sound. And in the same context she said, what is the human body? 1 kilo ash. So, that is how to look upon the names and forms. Now, karma, karmapal, heaven, all these are names and forms. Otherwise, they are existence, knowledge, bliss only. So, Swamiji has generalized it and saying, out of this comes one basic idea of the Vedanta, that everything which has name and form is transient. It is finite because we are not aware of the consciousness within. And if we are aware of the consciousness within, the difference vanishes. My consciousness, your consciousness is only reflection. That is not real. There is only one consciousness. And if you are aware of the consciousness, everything else vanishes. If you are not aware of the consciousness, we are aware of names and forms. And names and forms means finite. And that is what is transient. So, this earth is transient because it has name and form. And so the heavens must be transient because there also name and form remain. Pitruloka or whatever name you give. A heaven which is eternal will be contradictory in terms. So heaven has names, heaven has forms, it cannot be permanent. That is the basic difference between Vedanta and all other religions of the world. Because everything that has name and form must begin in time, exist in time and end in time. That means the time changes its. Time means change. And the change ends in vanishing. So, exists in time and goes back in time. These are settled doctrines of the Vedanta, and as such the heavens are given up. Given up. That means in Vedas, Karma Kanda, heavens are thought of. When the knowledge grows, we approach the Vedanta. I have explained Vedas to Vedanta. And when we approach Vedanta, the heavens are given up. Not as ideal, not as permanent places. So, now here one word has come, doctrines. You know, there are two similar words, doctrines and dogma. Doctrines is that principle for which many explanations are given. Dogma is that principle where no explanation is coming forth. So if a man sticks to his idea, we say he is dogmatic. Doctrine has a rational explanation. And so, all this Swamiji is talking about, is seen by the rishis and can be rationally explained. They are called doctrines. We have seen in the Sangita, I explained to you, Sangita, Brahmana and Aranya. Sangita is the Devata Gyan, the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas based upon that the idea of heaven was that it was eternal. First it is thought like that. Much the same as is prevalent among Mohammedans and Christians. They do not know anything, ordinary Christians and Muslims. Their highest ideal is heaven. The Mohammedans concretize it a little more. They say it is a place where there are gardens beneath which rivers run. Now Swamiji is giving the logic why they think like that. In the desert of Arabia, water is very desirable. So the Mohammedan always conceives of his heaven as containing much water. That means we will have better happiness, that is the idea. I was born in a country where there are 6 months of rain every year. In India, there are places like Cherrapunji where there is rain 12 months a year. I should think of heaven, I suppose, as a dry place. And so also would the English people. In England, there is always rain. These heavens in the Sangita are eternal, thought of us, and the departed have beautiful bodies and live with their forefathers and are happy ever afterwards, temporarily. There they meet with their parents, children and other relatives and lead very much the same sort of life as here, only much happier. All the difficulties and obstructions to happiness in this life have vanished, and only its good parts and enjoyments remain. But however comfortable mankind may consider this state of things, truth is one thing and comfort is another important thing. It is very nice to think we will be living eternally happily, but it cannot be eternal. Truth does not allow us to think that it is eternal. Comfort we are always seeking. So Swamiji said, truth is a different thing, comfort is a different thing. There are cases where truth is not comfortable until we reach its climax. Swamiji has compared the Vedantic truth with a coercive substance. Suppose you keep sodium on our body, it will burn the skin. Like that, Vedanta will throw away all our ideas, superstition. It will burn our personality. It will be a fire in which I will be lost. Then the final is reached. In the final it is all happiness, permanent, because I do not remain. Because the subject-object division does not remain. So, truth is not comfortable until we reach its climax. We understood. Truth is troublesome. Truth is coercive in the way. But when we reach the climax, when there is no difference between subject and object, it cannot be finite. It is eternal bliss. So that is what Swamiji says. Human nature is very conservative. It does something and having once done that, finds it hard to get out of it. That is what human nature is. The mind will not receive new thoughts because they bring discomfort. Now this is true about everything. People say we do not take religion because we will have to give up some of our enjoyments. Conservatism. Then some people rise higher. We do not want to give up this because we will give up our enjoyment. We do not want to believe that we will be identified with God because we lose the charm of seeing God. So this is an obstruction everywhere, and that's what Swamiji calls comfort. Truth is one without a second. In the Upanishads, Vedanta, we see a tremendous departure made. The tremendous departure, categorically different it becomes. It is declared that these heavens in which men live with their ancestors after death cannot be permanent, seeing that everything which has name and form must die. If there are heavens with forms, these heavens must vanish in course of time. Even Brahmalok has a form, so it may remain for one kalpa. They may last millions of years, but there must come a time when they will have to go. I quoted Gita Shloka, Brahma Bhuvanat Lokat Punaravartin Arjuna. With this idea came another, that these souls must come back to earth, and that heavens are places where they enjoy the results of their good works, and after these effects are finished, they come back into this earth life again. Earth life, man or lower animals. One thing is clear from this, that mankind had a perception of the philosophy of causation even at the early time. That was through perception. Finite work, finite result. That is called the theory of causation here. Later on we shall see how our philosophers bring that out in the language of philosophy and logic, but here it is almost in the language of children. So the language does not appear rational. The rational language itself only is an appearance, but it appears polished. One thing you may remark in reading these books, that it is all internal perception. Internal means supersensuous perception, direct perception. So it is not through reason, expressed through rational language or with ordinary language, language of children. Important, based upon inner perception. If you ask me if this can be practical, I have been quoting this sentence from beginning. It is here now. If you ask me if this can be practical, my answer is it has been practical first and philosophical next. We have shown that this buddhi ratiocination comes next. Upanishads or even the Vedas are only experiences of the rishis. They do not bother about making a philosophy. Then philosophers come like Shankaracharya, Gaudapadacharya, and they rationally express these things. So rational explanation or rational understanding is a different thing than actual experience and realization. Now Swamiji is explaining what is practical. It has been practical first and philosophical next. You can see that first these things have been perceived and realized. Perceived means direct perception. Realized means it has become permanent in our life, no change. So, this is called practical. Practical is not something to be done by hand only. Practical means we directly perceive the truth. Shravan Manan Nidhyasan. We realize it. It becomes real to us. Realization means today these are imaginary ideas. When the idea becomes real, that becomes realization. Perception, realization. That is called practical. And that has been done first. And then written. Written means rationalized and written. That is the experiences we get. This world spoke to the early thinkers. Perception. Birds spoke to them, animals spoke to them, the sun and the moon spoke to them. They are getting consciousness everywhere, and so these are speaking. And little by little they realize things, so it grows. The supersensuous experience grows. So little by little, and got into the heart of nature, not by cogitation, thinking, not by the force of logic, not by picking the brains of others and making a big book, as is the fashion in modern times. One is reason. One is that finding this quotation here, that quotation here and making a book. Swamiji says that is the fashion these days. And we say original discovery. Now another method is there. Important method which Swamiji is following. That is called interpreting and explaining what the rishis have experienced. One is reasoning, one is picking others' brains and making a book. Third is trying to catch what the rishis have said and explaining it in rational language. That is the bhumika Swamiji is taking. Swamiji is not taking the position of a rishi here. Swamiji is taking the position of an interpreter here. Because he says that everything has been realized already. Not even as I do, by taking up one of their writings and making a long lecture. Long lecture means explaining. But by patient investigation and discovery, they found out the truth. Investigation and discovery, supersensuous knowledge. Patient. Its essential method was practice. So sadhana, here practice means sadhana, Shravan Manan Dasan, yogic practices, good karma, development of buddhi, bhakti, all these are practices. Somehow the consciousness should be raised. Its essential method was practice, and so it must be always. Religion is ever a practical science, and there never was nor will be any theological religion. What is theology? A philosophy in which the personal God is accepted. That is called theology. Theism means accepting a personal God. Theology means a philosophy constructed around a personal God. Philosophy is any intellectual construction is called philosophy. A type of philosophy where God is accepted is called theology. So he says religion is not theological. Religion is experience. It is practice first and knowledge afterwards. And then theory. Practice sadhana to transcend our sensual knowledge, and then realization, knowledge, that is knowledge, and then put it in rational terms is philosophy. The idea that souls come back is already there. Those persons who do good work with the idea of a result get it, but the result is not permanent. There we get the idea of causation very beautifully put forward, that the effect is only commensurate with the cause. As the cause is, so the effect will be. The cause being finite, the effect must be finite. If the cause is eternal, the effect can be eternal. But all these causes doing good work and all other things are only finite causes, and as such cannot produce infinite result. That is the rationally put forth Vedanta. We now come to the other side of the question. What is the other side? As there cannot be an eternal heaven, on the same ground there cannot be an eternal hell. It is what Mohammedans or Christians believe. Hindus believe in a hell, not permanent. The Mohammedans or Christians think if you do not do good work, at the day of judgment you will be thrown in an eternal hell. If you do good works, on the day of judgment you will be sent to eternal heaven. So Swamiji is now coming to the other side, that hell also, because you have done some bad work. Bad work is not infinite, so you cannot be the infinite hell. On the same grounds, there cannot be an eternal hell. Suppose I am a very wicked man, doing evil every minute of my life, Still my whole life here, compared with my eternal life, is nothing. Man is continuously living till he realizes the goal. So compared to the eternal life, this particular life is only a small section, infinitely small section. If there be an eternal punishment, it will mean that there is an infinite effect produced by a finite cause, which cannot be. If I do good all my life, I cannot have an infinite heaven. It would be making the same mistake. But there is a third course which applies to those who have known the truth. So good and bad are different. Spiritual life is different. Good and bad are different. Rising in consciousness is different. Please mark this. There are two ideas of religion. To do good thing, earn punya, go to heaven, that is one idea of religion. And spiritual idea of religion, in the Gita Bhagavan says, this religion I am telling you, not the punya wala religion. So good and bad and spiritual. But there is a third course which applies to those who have known the truth, to those who have realized it. Known means realization. Not theoretically knowing, not information, not conviction, but experience is called realization. This is the only way to get beyond this wheel of Maya. Maya Samajas discussed in Jnana Yoga, we'll again come to that. To realize what truth is, and the Upanishads indicate what is meant by realizing the truth. Tattvamasi, Upanishads will tell us. So, today we have covered a lot of ground. The main idea was that heaven is not eternal, all the lokas are not eternal. There can be a relatively longer state called Brahma Loka, called by different names of Vaikuntha, Kailasha or Ramakrishna Loka, where man is relatively there till the kalpa finishes, but then he has to come back or he has to do further sadhana. And all other heavens and good works are finite in nature, bad works are finite in nature, is a great hope. We'll come back and become man again and again go up. So these are the principles which we read today in Practical Vedanta, and we shall continue it on the next Thursday. Om Paratatve Sadalino Ramakrishna Samagya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Vire Shamtam Namamyaham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.